All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to our very first National Virtual User Group. Our Graphisoft team and partners are overjoyed to be hosting this event today with all of you. We're also joined here today by our special guest, James Murray from Real Architects as well. Our agenda today is quite packed. We have a couple announcements, then we'll dive straight into the Archicad Object Deep Dive. Then we'll have a raffle, and then we'll have some other announcements towards the end. So let's get started. Just a little bit about Graphisoft North America. There's about 70 plus of us spread throughout the entire North American area. Our HQ is actually in Waltham, Massachusetts, near the Boston area. And as you can see here in the different orange dots, we're spread out all over the US. Some of us do work in HQ, but many of us work remotely. As to our presenters today, we have folks from the East Coast and the West Coast, and I'm going to introduce them right now. If everybody can turn on the cameras. Hello. All right. So without further ado, I will introduce everybody today, and I'll start with me. Hello, everybody. I'm Catherine. I will be your host today. I'm actually sales manager for the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast regions here at Graphisoft, based in Washington, D.C. With us today as well, Zoltan Tuff. Hi, Zoltan. Is here. Oh, we can't hear you yet. He's here. He's our key accounts manager here at Graphisoft, based in the Philadelphia area. Hello.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. Nice to have you.
Joining us here as well, he's actually having some video difficulties, but Henry Berger from our Graphisoft team as well is here from Baltimore area.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here.
Hi. Joining us as well, Tom Simmons from Archicad Consulting. He's our Graphisoft partners based in San Francisco. Hello, Tom.
Hello, welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Chris and Link from BIM6X in Idaho area, our Graphisoft partners as well. Hello, Link. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Catherine. Thanks for everyone for being here.
Good to see everyone.
Likewise. And last but not least, James Murray from Real Architects, also our GDL enthusiast from some of you here watching us today from Alexandria, Virginia. Hello, James.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. Looking forward to it.
All right. So with that being said, I kindly ask everyone to turn their cameras off. I will do the same. Next, we are going to have some announcements. I'm going to dive right in. As we go through this slide, I would like everybody to look at your dashboard on the right-hand side. You should see on that list a line item for handouts. And it should have a PDF in there called Archicad Useful Links. There, you will find links to any information that we'll present today, as well as any other extra links that we have about events or important information towards Archicad today as well. I recommend everyone to download the PDF so you have more information up to date. With that being said, I will highlight two of the items within that PDF right now. One of them is regarding Paramo. Paramo is finally available on Macs after being launched last year for PCs. Please make sure that you have Archicad 24 on the latest update in order for you to be able to download it. And you can find more information on the handout as well. Next is the M1 chip. I'd like to advise everyone to please go ahead and click on the link on our Help Center. Depending on the size of your firm and utilization of Archicad, M1 chip may or may not be beneficial to you. This information has been updated every single week from our Graphisoft team. Please check it often to know what the latest information is. If you look at the very bottom of that help center, you will find what is most appropriate depending on your firm's size and utilization. Friendly reminder to everyone, actually our first registrants today will actually be 3 of the first 100 registrants today will actually be selected to win a prize today. In order to do so, you must stay till the end of today's session. We will call your name out. When we do so, please let us know through the chat that you are present. We will announce those prizes at the very end. So now to our main session today, Archicad Object Deep Dive. Within that, it's poll time. So please watch your screen. I'm about to launch a poll. What I'd like everybody to do right now is take the time to answer the questions and hit submit. And as soon as everybody has voted, we'll share the answers. So since we're talking about objects today, we're asking the question, where do you get your objects from, aside from the Archicad library? All right, answers are coming in. We're almost halfway through. Right now I see a lot of SketchUp, 3D warehouse. All right, I'm going to close the poll. All right, let's see the answers here. Looks like SketchUp 3D Warehouse is the most popular way to access objects at this time, followed by BIM Object and making your own objects. Ooh, so we have some fun stuff for you today. That's wonderful. Fantastic. All right, moving forward, I'm going to hand this off to the BIM 6X team. Chris, Link, I'm going to go ahead and make you Link presenter here so you can move forward. Let me know when you're ready.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine. Yeah, this is Chris. Hey, thanks for everyone for joining us for this. Interesting results on that poll. I think some of you might learn a little bit for this free add-on that Link's about to show. Real quick, you can download the version 24 add-on from the Graphisoft website. This add-on allows you to bring in Revit families, which is what we're going to briefly talk about here, but also reference in and out RVT files as well. That'll be a topic for another discussion. But real quick, we're going to go over the RFA add-on. Again, it's free, very easy to use. This will just take a couple minutes, so I'll turn it over to Link.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, so I just grabbed this RFA object from the Kohler site just by clicking on this RFA link here. So you can get RFAs from all over the web. So hopefully we can bring that 20% up a little. But I'll show you how easy it is. I've downloaded it, and all you need to do is go to File, Libraries and Objects, Import RFA as GDL object. And here it is, I've got it selected. It's a pretty small file. And so when it comes in, the first thing it does is it tries to match it. So it kind of knows that this is an object, but if you downloaded a door or a window, Archicad is kind of smart enough to figure out which one it is. If it misses though, you can change this into a door or into a window, but this is a sync. So I'm just going to leave it as object. And it's got 3 levels of polygons for curved geometry. So for this example, I'm just going to leave it in the middle because it can get pretty heavy if you go to the 3rd one here, more polygons. So I'll hit import, and it will take a few seconds here to figure it out. And there it is. So it's just said that it's been created and it's been added to the embedded library. So I'll hit OK on that. Go to the object. Double click on this, and you'll see here under embedded library that that part has been put into the library there, and it's got quite a few polygons here, but I'll just show it in 3D. That's it. And it's got some information in here as well, some parameters that come through with it. And we can kind of use this, and it has a few other settings in here which we can turn on or off, edge snapping, stretching, things like that. But I'll just hit OK, and I'll place it in here. And it'll come in. There it is. Yeah, so if we just take a look at this in 3D, show all in 3D. Yeah, you can see there that the this was just the medium quality, so it's not completely. It's a little segmented, but I think you'll find that that it will still render quite nicely. I'll just render it quickly here. Render. So it'll show up pretty well here in a full render. The curves are, the segments are pretty unnoticeable, and the quality is really pretty good. And also I've got a schedule here, and this just will list out some of that information, those parameters that were available for listing. So you can pull this information out into either a schedule or into labels. So so all that comes through as well. So that's as easy as it is. You just got to make sure that these RFA objects are not too old. I think we can go back as far as like 2011 up to 2020, I believe, is the latest one that we have. So if you're having trouble with it, it's probably because it's a really old RFA object. But if it's reasonably new, then it should work just fine.
Yeah, thanks, Link. And as Link pointed out, there's a ton of manufacturers' objects out there in this format. This add-on is very simple to use. Again, it's free. You know, use it in your toolkit. What we'd like to do now is introduce Tom Simmons from ArchVista, who's going to take objects to another level with a great add-on called Modelport that I know Link and I have a lot of our clients that use. So we're going to turn it over to Tom here, and he's going to show you how you can do amazing things with a wide variety of objects with this add-on.
Tom, I just switched over to you. Let me know if you're all set.
I've got it. Thank you very much. Perfect. So let me just go ahead. You can't hear me? Can anybody hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, so everybody can hear me. All right, thank you. Okay, so let me go ahead and show my, sorry about this, guys. Looks like it's showing on the wrong screen. So I'll go to the main screen. Okay. So yes, let me just go ahead and take you through this. Yeah, my name is Tom Simmons. I'm with ArchVista, and I'm going to take you through Modelport. Modelport is an application that we developed with some developers, and I'm going to take you through kind of how it kind of expands some of the import objects, offers interactive preview, cleanup graphics, edit import objects, and improves performance. So let's just first start about expanding the import options. So many of you talked about bringing in SketchUp files, Revit files. There's a lot of file formats out there, and some of the things that we've run into over time, and one of the reasons why this was developed was that a lot of people want to bring in even additional objects beyond SketchUp and Revit, and also be able to manage those objects in terms of graphics, in terms of performance for polygon counts, file size, etc. And so we developed it for that purpose, and we just recently added, as was released just the last couple of weeks, additional formats so that we can actually now start to import formats that are like, so you bring in a Revit object or SketchUp object through the standard method you would in Archicad, and now you can bring that into Modelport to use the editing features and the management features there. And then you can also likewise bring in morphs and other things that I'll talk about why that's important in a second. Let's talk about the direct import first, okay? If we're going to use Modelport to import, let's say, a 3D model using the DAE format. Now, the DAE format, if you're not familiar with it, is a standard format in the SketchUp 3D warehouse. So you can either download SketchUp formats or the DAE. It's a Collada DAE format. And so you can see it brings it in pretty cleanly using Modelport in that format. But if we use the standard SketchUp format from the 3D warehouse, it's going to come in and this is going to look very typical of what you would probably see with any object that you're bringing in from a SketchUp or any other format that has curves to it. And that's that you're going to see this sort of triangulation, in the object, both in 2D and 3D, and can get really messy. And that's part of what we tried to do with Archicad with Modelport, is to try to clean up some of those graphics. We also recently, as I mentioned, allowed now for you to be able to import an RFA or a SketchUp file using the standard Archicad process. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, first off, let's say, for example, you have a Revit object, and it comes in, and it's great, brings in all the stuff, except that there's something wrong with it. Perhaps it's rotated in the wrong direction. Perhaps there was something that happens a lot of times. People leave things on that you can't turn off. Various reasons why. And so you could explode that into a morph, edit it like that. Or with Archicad, with Modelport now, you can also just import it directly into Modelport and begin to use Modelport's feature set to be able to change, in this case, its rotation, but you could also use it for editing the graphics, as I'm going to show you in a second, and some other options as well. So here we've imported it to Modelport, and so we'll just basically delete that Revit one that we brought in, and we'll just place the one now in Modelport, and there you go. So let me now flip into talking a little bit about the management and editing capabilities of Modelport and why this is important. So many times when you bring in objects, and they can be from various sources, the ones that we mentioned in the poll and many others out there, you'll have objects that have high polygon counts and are large files. This is a great example. This is the Viking website. This is their options to download a Viking object. And there are these massive files that were created, as far as I can tell, from Rhino, and they were then, basically ported out of Rhino into various formats for SketchUp, for Revit, for 3ds Max, etc. And when you try to bring them into Archicad, they're huge. And this is a 177,000 polygon oven, 45 megabyte oven. This is one of the smaller files. Some of them were just really difficult to handle. So what can you do with that? Well, that's what I'm going to kind of show you. You can actually use Modelport to reduce the file size, you reduce the polygon count. I'm going to talk about this process. So let's take a first look at what you could do. You could bring an object like this in, and you can convert it to a morph. You know that when you convert it to a morph, sometimes it will actually have a massive amount of information also, because the morph becomes, as this warning is telling us, it can increase or should decrease the performance of your project. So here's how you can handle that. This is a good example. We brought this in, we've converted it to a morph. So what we're going to do to kind of help start to simplify and increase the performance of this object, I'm going to decrease the back side of it. I don't need that. So I'm just going to decrease that, or excuse me, delete that. I'm going to draw a slab as a representation for the back part of that oven. And just by doing that, I'm already decreased this by about, I think it's about 60, 65% in size. I'm going to import that in now to Modelport, and you're going to see once it comes in that rather than it being 177,000 polygons, it is now 58,000 polygons. So good first step. Next thing we're going to do is this object, when it came in from Revit and from Viking, really didn't have any colors to it. So we're going to start adding colors. We're going to start, adding materials, start to begin to, add some graphics to this and edit the graphics for it as well. And then we can zoom in. This is an interactive preview. So we can click on any surfaces, any elements in here, and begin to edit those. And so here we're going to actually go ahead and change these handles to a darker metal, maybe black. And again, start to build this up, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and create this object. So now I've taken this morph, a Revit object, converted to a morph, and now I'm going to make it into a Modelport object from this point forward. Okay. Once this is done, and this object has been created, I can close this. And I'll go back to Archicad. And now at this point, we're going to go and place the object. And notice how much it's cleaned up too. After taking that morph, bringing it into Modelport, just like we did earlier with the SketchUp object, using the DA format, it's cleaned up the graphics in 2D and 3D. So next we want to reduce the polygon count. Another new feature that's been added, because we can now bring in morphs and other elements, is we can go through and select all the meshes at once versus having to select each individual one. So in this case, if I want to reduce the polygon count, I want to select all meshes. I can select all meshes, and then I can deselect by holding down my Shift key. I can deselect some of the surfaces so that when we start to reduce the polygon count, it doesn't create triangulation on those surfaces. So I'm going to select what's called poly reduce down underneath the detailed full panel. And then once I've done that, I'm going to change the decimation steps here, okay? So you can see there, this has reduced it down to now 19,000 polygons, down from 177,000. Huge amount of difference. I can even take it further, down to 14, but I don't really need to take it that far. You can see it starts to create some little triangulation there, so I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to take it back up to 2, which is the default. And then I'm going to go ahead and freeze the poly reduce. So I'm saying I want to now update this object with that. And then finally, I'm going to update the object itself, and we're ready to go. Next, I also want to reduce the file size. Again, this is a pretty big object. Just as a single object was 45 megabytes. When it comes into Modelport, we have the option to be able to set the save mode to Modelport versus the default GDL format. Just by doing that, I'm reducing it also now back down from that 45 megabytes that we started with down to 4.3 megabytes in this final file that we're creating. Huge difference in the two. We can also control line weights, colors, and fill backgrounds with these objects when we bring them in. Now, when I brought this morph in originally, you can see it's kind of true line weight mode right now. But when we go into Modelport here, we can start to actually change our preview to show the plan view on top. And now I can start to select the areas that I want to change. So maybe I want to change, for example, the casing in the back to have some gray fill background so that we can change that. Maybe I want to change the line weight of the stoves to have a heavier weight around the edge of that casing and the edge of maybe some areas up top that are closer to you. Maybe I want to gray out some of the areas that are below, so those kind of fade away. So again, I have control over here on the different materials that are part of this. And so by updating this now, what I'm going to see is a gradation of the different line weights within this object, giving me a much better look and feel for what I want to see in the end. So final result here, it's giving me more options for importing different objects. And now with this ability to be able to take objects and bring in morphs and be able to add additional slabs and whatever to replace things, to improve performance and even alter those objects, I can take something like this and I can reduce it down 94% in file size, 89% in polygons, clean up the 2D and 3D, edit the object, pen customization, material texture editing, etc. So you can see the results. And thank you, everybody. You can certainly, if you're interested, information is in the PDF, it's in the handout. This is my email if anybody needs to get in touch with me, and I'm going to go and hand this over.
Thank you, Tom. Next is Henry with Paramo.
Hello, everyone. Let's talk about Paramo. Paramo is amazing. It's now built into Archicad and it's fun. But you may be wondering, what is it? Well, it's a new way of creating parametric objects in Archicad without coding or scripting. Grasshopper fans will be at home with the graphical interface. Here are 6 important aspects of Paramo that make it easy and accessible. Number 1 being it's built in for both Windows and Mac users. Now let's put Paramo into action. Here's the example kitchen layout we'll populate with Paramo objects. We'll open our new island object. Check out the Paramo icon. Here are some toggle display parameters created by Paramo. Now we'll place the island object and adjust some size parameters. Just like the standard objects, you can apply favorites to the Paramo objects. We'll move this island to align with the existing kitchen counter and make a quick adjustment to the counter thickness. Now let's open up the Paramo Manager and edit this object. In the Paramo Manager dialog, you'll see an active list of the objects available to edit, rename, and delete. Now in the Paramo Editor, you'll see 3 columns: the list of commands and inputs, the node diagram, and the 3D preview. By the way, the 3D preview toggles to the automatic script generator, not that you'll ever need it. The node diagram can look like a spaghetti mess, but we're going to start a new object to show you how it's done. The block is the best item to begin testing. We can control its size by adding some length parameters. Then a boolean to turn it on and off, and a surface material, which we'll attach to the block with a connecting spline. Lastly, we'll test out the length parameters. Here's where we add a few dimensions to control the movement or location of the block and add a height parameter. And a quick test. Paramo's power comes from how it can work for you. We're going to multiply this block in a matrix grid. And control the repetition sequence. You can double-click on the nodes to change the settings. In this case, I'm adjusting the step to be by 1 instead of half. I forgot to mention in the node settings, if you set the create parameter setting to true, it will then be displayed in the object selection settings. Of course, you can customize the parameter name to whatever you like. Let's do a little bit of organizing, change the grid size, and adjust the block placement. To continue organizing, you can select a bunch of nodes, group them together, and customize the name of the group. I think we're ready to save this object and test it in the model. The new object will be displayed in the Paramo Manager and eventually be saved in the embedded library. The new object gets placed, but we probably don't need a bunch of stray blocks in our model, but some stools at the island would be useful. Let's open the object in Paramo and edit it. What we can do is swap out the block item for an existing object in our loaded libraries. I'll take advantage of the boolean command to turn off the block item and then add a new spline to the GDL object of the stool. The stool spacing is way too far apart, but we can easily adjust that in the object selection settings. While we're in there, we can make adjustments to the spacing and the number of rows. With a bit more adjustment, these 4 stools could become 400 chairs, bleachers, or an auditorium full of seats. They could be elevated, rotated, or distributed along an arc. Paramo fully shows its power when it easily automates the repetitive features in design schemes. I'm going to show you another object that builds on that mindset. Here we have a series of panel slats that follow a sine curve. Here we can edit the Paramo created parameters. The manual entry of data works just fine, but it's not quite as smooth as a dedicated editor. Once we open the object in the Paramo editor, modifying things in the node diagram is smooth and provides great visual feedback. Watch how that sine curve undulates. Let's add another Paramo object to create a custom countertop. Here we can edit different aspects of the circle pattern. To take a quick tangent, in Grasshopper we can control object parameters in much the same way as we're doing here in Paramo. The combination of Rhino, Grasshopper, and Archicad gives you endless creative possibilities. Okay, so I thought we needed a nice geometrically abstract light fixture to go in this kitchen. I was experimenting with curves and arcs and having simple shapes rotate progressively around them. Now I didn't try to match this example fixture very closely, but I did find the gentle sweeping curves and the repetitive elements a nice challenge for Paramo. As you look at just a single blade of this fixture, you'll see that it's made up of hundreds of tiny little arcs, actually 180 of them, each one rotating 1 degree as it goes from straight up vertical to straight down. We'll change the number of blades back to 8 for the kitchen. The embedded library will get updated and the kitchen light fixture will be modified to show the latest surface material changes. That concludes my 10-minute introduction to Paramo. I hope it sparks some interest in a fantastic new way to make custom objects.
All right, James, whenever you're ready, I think I hand it all over to you.
Just 1 second.
Go ahead, we can see your screen.
Okay, great. One occasion where you might find yourself using a lot of custom content is in light fixtures. And you may know that this is an Archicad library part right here. And it's got the option to show the symbol in different ways, depending on whether you want to see what the actual model looks like in order to see if it fits, or you can do different versions of the floor plan symbol as well. And then best of all, you can hook that choice to model view options. And so all of your fixtures will use the same setting and all of the symbols will be in sync all the time. So that's a strong feature and I recommend you do that. But it's nice when you start creating your own stuff if it can also cooperate with those settings so that all your symbols are consistent, whether you're dealing with Archicad stuff or stuff you've gotten from somewhere. So first example, here's the previous time. Imagine that I did this. I made a lamp and I've got settings in there. They're not the full UI because that's too complicated for me to do, but you can see I've also got that MVO option and then the other literal symbol options that I've added to a model that I made myself. All right, so I'll show you how to add those parameters and the little bit of script that you need to make that work for anything that you might import. So the first thing we got to do is open the object, and that's File, Libraries and Objects, Open Object. And that'll take you to the object editor. And then I'll also open what I've got over here is a new object that I imported using the RFA importer. So I'm going to open that as well over here on the right. And the first thing I like to do is all RFAs, they cannot come in as lamps. They can only come in as objects. If you want it to behave like a lamp and be available under the lamp tool, which I like, you have to change the subtype. And so go to select subtype and then unfold a little bit under model element. And then under electrical element, you'll see light. And that is the subtype for a lamp. So it'll now respond to the lamp tool. All right, and then the other thing we need to do, second button here in the sidebar, so we'll go to the parameters and we're going to make some parameters. I'm going to put these new parameters underneath 2D representation here in the parameter list. The parameters are the things that are available to the user when they go to the settings dialog. So these are the things that you set in the settings. So in order to make a new one, you hit new. And then to make it really easy, I'm always working with what I did the last time. So there's a handful of parameters here that you need. And the first one is this GS sim type 2D M. And that's the variable name. That's the name that the code uses to refer to this information. It's not the name that the users see. And then parameters have types. There's several types that they can have, and this one wants to be an integer, which is the little stack of blocks there. And then the name that faces the user will make that 2D symbol type. All right, and then I need another new one. This one's simply called SS, and it is a length, and that is the symbol size. And that is a model dimension. So if you're working a 1/4 inch scale, make it a foot. That'll make it a 1/4 inch in the drawing. And I'll make another new parameter. This one's called SHOW_TXT, show text. And this one is a checkbox. So you have the option to turn it on and off. And so that'll give you the opportunity to have text showing next to the symbol or not. And then if the text is showing, we need some content there. So the last one we're going to make is just TXT. And that is type ABC. And we'll just call that text for the user. And we'll have it default to the letter A. All right, so those are all the parameters that we need. And now we're going to look at a couple script things. The first script we're going to look like, these are all the scripts. The object contains several of them that do have different jobs. The first one we're going to look at is the parameter script. And this is terrifying looking auto-generated stuff that the RFA importer made. But I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom and ignore all of that and come over to my previous lamp, open its parameter script, and I've got this little block right here which starts with the word values and this and 2. And then you'll see that this parameter is one of the this little phrase here, it's one of the parameters that we created. And this list, this code is going to say add this list to that parameter. So I'm just going to copy that and paste it into the parameter script at the bottom. And then if I come back out to editor headquarters here, you'll see that now this parameter has got those 4 options. I'm going to choose it to default to by MVO because I think that's the best way. So however you save this, that's going to be the default that the user sees when they start using it. All right. And then the second script we need to deal with is the 2D script. The 2D script is responsible for what the object looks like in plan. And again, this is auto-generated stuff. And I'm going to just select all of that and get rid of it. And then back to my previous lamp. All right, I'm just going to select all this, copy, and paste it. So very briefly, without getting into a lot of technical detail, basically this script, you'll see the word if every now and then. And what that means is, depending on what that symbol type parameter what the user chooses, it's going to do different things. If you choose to show it realistically, it's going to use this this little line here called Project 2, which just means take a picture of the model. And then if down here, if you're using any other setting, it's going to essentially call another hidden object in the library and instruct it to draw the right kind of symbol for you. And so then if we come back out and look at 2D view, we can see that if we choose to look at it differently, the symbol will change. And then again, I want to leave that on NVO. All right, and then I'm going to save this real quick. And then I will go back to the plan and I'll get my lamp tool. And whenever you save an object, it'll always be the default for whatever the tool is. And so there's my new lamp. I've got a few views saved over here. So I've got that NVO setting hooked up to views. And so I can easily, if I click these, I can easily switch between the different symbols. And you can see that Archicad library, old object, new object, they're all speaking the same symbol language. Catherine, if I have 1 or 2 more minutes, I can show 1 or 2 more little things.
Yes, please. There is actually a question about it, so go ahead.
All right. So one other thing I want to show you is let's look at the 3D script for a second. Actually, first thing, let's look at the 3D view of the object, which is down here. So I'm not sure why, but this guy imported upside down. That should be a pendant, and it's a, I don't know what you call it when a pendant is standing up. But that's easy to fix. If I go to the 3D script, the 3D script makes the model. Again, this is all auto-generated stuff from the importer, and we're going to ignore all of it. I'm going to go all the way to the top, hit enter a few times, and then I'm going to type MULZ, -1. And so that command simply makes the whole object mirror itself along the Z axis. And so then if I go back to 3D, we've now got the pendant fixed. So if that ever happens to you, for some reason it imports upside down, that's a really easy fix to make with a very, very small amount of typing. And then one more thing that's nice to do when your library is starting to get bigger and bigger that makes it nice is create a preview picture that the users can see when they're browsing the library. And that is this button right here on the sidebar. And it's empty right now, but I've got a screenshot saved here of my lamp, and I'm just going to select all that and copy it and then paste it into the preview. And now you can tell what you're looking at when you're choosing it in the libraries. So that's what I've got for you, unless there's a question or something. Hope it's helpful.
Yeah, I got a wow, and linking the NVO setting this way is much easier than scripting NVO. Thanks, James. I already passed this on to Zoli. Zoli, are you ready?
Yes, yes. So let's talk a little bit about metadata. And I won't be long, but so the webinar today is about bringing in geometry from all of these different platforms or creating geometry out of scratch inside Archicad. And in my opinion, what really makes a product in a BIM is obviously the metadata, the non-graphical data or the I in the BIM. So I want to show you how that's structured inside Archicad, and I could see that I was screening the questions. There are some questions about this already. So how do we populate that metadata? That could be anything from, that represents a product, so manufacturer, model number, color, material, sustainability data, and so on. But you can also assign it to a building assembly, like a wall assembly's UL number, or you can include some occupancy data in your zones, right? So you're not really limited in any way. And I think this is a fantastic feature set inside Archicad out of the box. So I am using this little corner of a kitchen that's kind of want to joke that this used to be my apartment, my kitchen in my apartment in New York City back 15 years ago, but sad reality, this was my whole apartment. So anyway, if I go into that refrigerator here, everything that's metadata is structured around the classification. So that's one of the tabs here, and let me just expand that a little bit. Out of the box, you will see the Archicad simplified classification master format, but you can bring in any system based on your country or territory that you want to use. And as long as you classify your components correctly, they will get the appropriate metadata fields that we call properties. So at the user level, that's really all you need to do. Now for the BIM manager to set this up, they will have to go to options, and right next to each other, there's the property manager and a classification manager. And just to show you the classification manager, when I select, let's say, site massing, and I click on one of these items, it will only bring up the appropriate properties, and I can edit that list. Here is where you can bring in OmniClass or any other classification system. You can use multiple classification systems as well. And obviously you can map these onto each other, especially when you're outputting IFCs. The other one is the property manager. That is really the same data, but you're taking the point of view of the properties, right? So in this case, if I select, let's say, manufacturer, you will see all of the classification items that manufacturer is available for. And a little bit of just a few words about properties. They're a fantastic feature inside Archicad. They can be all these different types: a string, a number, an integer, different parameters like length, areas, volumes, even an option set where you would get a little drop-down list of multiple options. And then also the kind of the secret superpower here is that you can create expressions. So even if I wanted to map this onto a different type of manufacturer, let's say I have manufacturing in two places, like under manufacturing, I can just very quickly map it onto that manufacturing. Oops, and I did it twice. And from that, you can see that I can combine multiple. So it's a very, very powerful part of Archicad. Okay, I'm going to discard these changes and show you a better way to populate this metadata. Well, one option would be to go into a schedule. And as we all know, schedules are interactive inside Archicad. So I could literally go and start typing in the manufacturer, the product website, and so on, whatever I want. But we want to open this up to people without Archicad, right? The specifier, the manufacturer. Everybody has Excel. So let me show you how to populate this data from Excel. You open up your schedule, then go to File, Interoperability, and Classification and Properties. We'll have an export property values from schedule. And this will output all this data as an Excel sheet. So I'm just going to leave the stock name there, the out of the box name. And this gives me an Excel sheet that has the list, but also, and you will see there will be hidden one hidden row and one hidden column here for the global unique IDs or GUIDs that will identify all components, or I should say each component and each property, so that our data is always consistent. And then somebody can go in and type in the specs for those products. Or like I said, everybody has Excel. Everybody can output a CSV file at the minimum. So you could even go to your manufacturer and get the product information as an Excel. Very easy. Really opens this part of Archicad up to everybody. So now I actually went ahead and populated this Excel sheet ahead of time so that I can show you. I spec this out with the product information. If I want to bring that into Archicad, all I need to do is go to the same place, File, Interoperability, Classification, and import the property values. Now it will bring it up here. Just want to make sure I select the correct one. If there is a mistake, Archicad will tell you exactly where. And when I hit OK, it will start injecting all of that metadata right into the object. Consequently, obviously, the schedule will be correct because it picks up the data from the objects, from the elements. And just kind of to go back into this model and show you that it also shows up here when I scroll down to manufacturing all the way. there's my nice little Sub-Zero call out, and then also the manufacturer's website. So just a couple of use cases for this. This is fantastic, but obviously when you create a vectorial representation, let's say a 3D document, you can also use the auto text label to annotate all of this metadata. And also when you output this into BIMX, that will allow you to embed the metadata in the individual elements, so that when somebody clicks on them, they will have all of that data available to them, and they can go to the website directly from BIMX and so on. So this is out of the box feature set to update metadata and populate metadata in bulk in our Archicad, and then also open it up to anyone with Excel or through BIMX. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoltan. I know you ran really fast through that. It's a lot of information, but fun stuff. Keep in mind that there are links to that for more information and videos on the handout as well. I will go ahead and launch the question. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to finish today's presentation. So if you all can see this, we have some questions lined up. I'm going to pull a few of them here. And if you don't mind, I'm going to read a few here for all of you. Some of them are directed to Tom. So Tom, we have a question for you.
Okay.
About Modelport. Is Modelport a subscription, and how does it work?
Yeah, it is subscription, and if you need multiple licenses, just let us know. We've worked with a number of companies on multi-license accounts, and we can do that separately. But there is, if you just need it individually for your own practice or computer, just go to the website and you can purchase it there.
Thank you for that. I do have a question for Chris and Link. They have a question about RFA. When you bring an RFA that has multiple size options, is there a way to pick which size you want?
Yeah, I think I answered that in the chat, but I don't think so. I think it's the last size option that it was saved as is what it will come in as. So you would need to go back to the author and save it out as a different option. That's from what that's what I understand.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree, Link.
So I don't know if this is related to you both and Zoltan. There's a question, given that what Zoltan is showing, it seems that RFA importers should import available metadata into properties, not GDL parameters. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'll take that one. I think there were a few questions about this, you know, how the metadata comes in through the RFA translator. And it does come in as GDL, and I agree it would be fantastic if you could map those GDL parameters onto properties, but right now there's a little bit of a chasm there between the GDL properties, and not all of the GDL properties are mappable onto parameters through the expressions. And so, yeah, so when you bring in the RFA, the Revit family, but you want to use your properties from your setup, let's say the master format, then you will have to do either some manual work, or I could imagine actually a solution through Excel that you could mass update those properties or copy properties over. Now, one thing I would like to highlight though is that Revit users have the same issue. So when they bring in an RFA, those properties, so let's say you have manufacturer set up in your template, and then you bring in an object that also has manufacturer as a parameter, it will not map onto your manufacturer property because they have different GUIDs, just like in Archicad. So it is a overall issue, I think, in the industry, and there is no real good solution to that. And just, you know, just to mention this, I'm mentioning this because I think it's really an advantage for Archicad users that there's no out-of-the-box way to bulk edit or bulk populate metadata inside Revit. And we have that in Archicad with the Excel connection. So that can really give you a competitive advantage there.
Thank you, Zoltan. There are so many questions lined up. What we'll do is we'll take these questions offline and get back to you, as well as just trying to wrap up for today as well. Just a friendly reminder to everyone, there will be a copy of this recording sent to you after the webinar is over, so you'll be able to pause and take all the notes that you need. I know that all of this was a lot of information, and you'll be able to do your self-paced afterwards as well. So with that being said, I'm going to go to the next page here. We're going to go straight into raffle time. And with this, I'd like James to pick a number from 1 to 100, please.
All right. I'm spinning the wheel. It's 47.
47. All right. So the Nunkey number 47 is Guy Dumas from Guy Dumas Architecture. Guy, are you there? If you're there, please type in there so we know that you're here. All right, I'm not hearing from Guy, so please pick another number, please.
All right. 81.
81. That is Greg Lambert from Platt. Greg, are you there? If you're there, please let us know. Sounds like Greg is not there either.
I'm sorry, Catherine. So Guy was actually here. He just typed in the questions, not the chat. Yeah.
Fantastic. So Guy, Greg, and let's pick the third person, please, James. One last number.
14.
14. All right, third person is Clifton Stuckey from Reliance Architecture. All right, I see Guy here. Is Greg here? And this last person, are you all here? All right, I see that they're here. Good, Greg is here. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, well, each of you, first person B won a $250 project audit from Graphisoft. Greg won a ArchVista Modelport subscription for 1 year. And our last person won a BIM 6X Power Kit for you. So congratulations. Here are all the different prizes that were offered today. So your audit, Modelport for year, and Power Kit. You can see all the different details here. Congratulations. Thank you all for participating. So just an announcement here. Next National Virtual User Group will be in July. Stay tuned for the invite. If you're already on this list, you will receive another invitation. And coming soon, as you all know, new release of Archicad is coming. Summer 2021, as we all know, end of June as summer starts. From there onwards, we'll be announcing soon the new release of Archicad. I just want to thank again all of our presenters today. Sorry, had a little bit of a hiccup here on the Paramo side. We apologize for that. But you know, technology today, you never know. Please make sure you answer a 16-second survey, which will be at the end as you sign out. It should take you a couple of seconds there to do so. And again, thanks for everyone for participating, and see you all in July.